Everyone, welcome back to the Wellness Blueprint. This is episode 4. Today I'm joined by Shivani, a new guest. She's the head nutritionist here at the Wellness Co. And of course, we have Dr. Garima here, who's our senior rehabilitation and wellness specialist, and myself, Rishabh, the co-founder. So today we're going to be talking about all things nutritional well-being. So of course, when we look at what's happening today with regards to the kind of food and hydration options that are available to people and the different kinds of diets that people are opting for, there's a lot of choice and a lot of speculation and a lot of misinformation as well that has to do with what kind of diet or what kind of food or nutrition is right for you. So Shivani, maybe you can help shed a little more light on these so-called kind of fad diets and personalized nutrition planning, meal planning, kind of having a personalized diet, and what that kind of means for an everyday person.
Keto diet, fat diets, and intermittent fasting. So these are the quick solution that people are nowadays looking for. But I really feel it's been 8 years practicing nutrition, and I really feel that a person should follow a diet which is customized for them, because these sort of diets actually give results, and they are going to give you a result that you are looking for. But at the same time, a lot of metabolic disorders like PCOS, thyroid, insulin resistance, all of these issues can come up. So as a nutritionist, I do not recommend, but I really feel that people should consult the professional nutritionist for that, whether they should follow that or not. So that's completely, under the supervision.
Perfect. So now that you've mentioned that customization is required for more individualized approach for each client or each person, how do we really decide on how would you be customizing or personalizing a plan based on a person's goals, or as you mentioned, metabolic disorders? How do you plan on proceeding with such people?
If a person is coming to me and if a person is coming with a lot of symptoms, then diagnostic plays major role. So as a nutritionist, I am first going to see the diagnostic like oligoscan, gut microbiome test, which is actually so popular. It's very much popular in India right now. And that gives a lot of insight about what exactly is happening inside your gut and how we can fix that. So basically we can create a roadmap, right? So diagnostic has a lot to play here. So as a nutritionist, I definitely go for first diagnostic, and then I would definitely go for making the plans for the clients.
Sure. I think for myself, for example, when we first kind of brought on board the advanced genetic testing as a part of the Wellness Co's diagnostic offerings, I learned a lot because I had gone for a total health panel, for example, and that measured about 170 to 200 different genetic biomarkers for myself. And it gave me a lot of information, not just, of course, about the nutritional aspects, but also about my day-to-day life and my risk factors and my predispositions for certain disorders, right? Now, when we come into specifically nutrition and let's say what foods I should be or should not be eating, I think as Shivani rightly pointed out, there's a lot of information that you can get about things that you're insensitive to or more sensitive to, foods that you're intolerant of, allergies that you might have but you didn't even know that you had these allergies. So they're causing many issues in your kind of gut flora and fauna. It's making it a lot worse. So I think when we look at the kind of context in India right now, a lot of people are suffering from gut issues on a daily basis. Our cuisine and the diets and the kind of foods that we eat in major cases end up being a lot of spicy, a lot of heavy on dairy or heavy on certain kind of additives as well, and preservatives a lot in our processed foods. So it's very important, I guess, to know, first of all, what's going on in your own body, what foods should you be avoiding. That's, I think, always going to be the first step going forward.
And nutrition, it's more about what you digest rather than what you're eating.
Right.
And you can't digest anything. You have to understand what your body is susceptible to, what is it allergic to, and then plan out a very judicious roadmap to your nutrition and dietetics.
Yeah, I think one aspect that we see a lot is gluten intolerance, for example. I'm sure Shivani can speak more to this, is that I meet a lot of people and we speak to a lot of clients who are constantly complaining that I have headaches, I have, severe kind of stomach pains or, bloating or cramps or what might have you on a daily basis. And they're kind of going through their life living with this kind of, thing on their back. Yeah. So maybe you can speak a little bit more towards, the kind of process by which we are able to kind of find out and then we develop a plan for someone.
See, half of the population in India, they are not aware whether they do have this gluten intolerance or not. right? So this is the reason why we always recommend people to go for diagnostic testing, tests like gut microbiome, tests like Gene Plus, so that we can see whether they do have a gluten intolerance or not, right? Because gluten nowadays is the first inflammatory marker, right? This is the reason why a lot of people come to me and that tells me that we are facing a lot of trouble losing weight, a lot of trouble with insulin resistance. They are not able to manage the metabolic disorders, even the diabetes, medical conditions like this.
So I think that was a lot of really great information. Now, when we come to what time somebody should eat and how much they should be eating, what proportion in which they consume food, this is another area in which I think there's been a lot of study, a lot of research, and a lot of experiment. So I think that was a lot of really great information. Now, when we come to what time somebody should eat and how much they should be eating, what proportion in which they consume food, this is another area in which I think there's been a lot of study, a lot of research, and a lot of experimentation on the part of people in the community who are interested in wellness, biohacking, health optimization, etc. I myself am someone who follows a kind of intermittent fasting protocol, but only because it works for me. Because it's kind of personal to me. I don't follow anything very strict. It's not like I'm doing 16 hours off and 8 hours on, but I try to kind of limit the hours in which I eat according to how I feel on any given day, right? So maybe you can speak a little bit more towards this. I know it, of course, looks a little bit different for men versus women. Maybe you can explain a little bit more on that as well, Shivani.
So see, intermittent fasting I do recommend to my clients also, but it should be always customized. If it is working for Rishabh, it might not work for me. Right? Trust me, I have tried intermittent fasting for a week, and the next month there was a little problem with the hormones. Okay, and I really feel that when we are following intermittent fasting, it should be under guidance. We should always start with small window, and we should then move forward for 16-hour fasting and then 8 hours window eating pattern. So it should be always customizable. So when we are doing intermittent fasting, our body uses our own form of glucose, you can say glycogen, which is a form of glucose stored in the body, and then body goes into the ketosis, in which your body uses your own body fat in the form of energy. And that's how people lose weight, and a lot of people get result in terms of losing weight, managing their insulin resistance, and also reducing inflammation.
Alright, Shivani, so I have a question here. There are a lot of researches now that are showing that mostly when people stop eating after 6:30 or 7, that's when they find the most benefits in terms of weight management as well. Is that true? Does that apply to everybody else?
See, a lot of studies and a lot of research nowadays are coming in which it is mentioned, it is proven that after, because in intermittent fasting what we do usually is our last meal is at 6:30 or 7 or 7:30 usually. So our body releases sleeping hormone after 7 p.m.
I think this has been a very popular trend actually in the West as well, in the US and in the UK, in other countries. When I talk to people there's a concept of fasting and intermittent fasting which has come up where you only eat during daylight hours.
Yeah.
This is one that's becoming really popular now, and a lot of people have seen very great results with this because they are already conditioning their bodies to go into sleep mode by the time sunset is there. So they restrict heavy metabolic activities after that. They try not to work out or eat or do anything much other than wind down recovery activities. Those are what they kind of take preference on. So I think this is something which in India especially we see people's routines extend well into the night. People are eating dinner at 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30 also at many cases, have very long days. So I think it's more of a mindset shift and a cultural shift that might take more time, but something worth exploring for people as well if they are suitable candidates for this.
Absolutely. So it's like follow the sun. I usually recommend this to my clients. It's like follow the sun so that you can sleep better. Your body can rest also when you're sleeping.
I think that was really great, Shivani, and I think when we look at the kind of people who are coming in, or a lot of the population who we see today asking questions about what more can they do with their diets, how can they change their diets, how can they make the right nutritional changes to create the right environment for them to lose weight, gain muscle, gain strength, not kind of become weaker, but become stronger while also losing weight and looking better. So is there something you're seeing particularly that these people are doing already by themselves, or a specific change that you are recommending that kind of takes a lot of effect and works quite quickly or works well for a lot of people?
When people are coming to me and when they are mentioning that they have tried their own method of losing weight, and when they specifically mentioned that they were on calorie restricted diet, let's say 1000 kilocalories a day or 1200 kilocalories a day, they are going to lose weight with such fat diets. As I mentioned earlier also, they are going to get definitely results, but then they end up losing muscle mass, they end up losing bone density. Okay, and then when we do advanced diagnostic for them, such as oligoscan, we do see oxidative stress levels are so high, inflammation levels are so high. So when someone wants to lose weight, it should be in a manner so that they are eating healthy, they are eating more balanced meal. It should be with good proteins, good lean proteins, good fiber, good carbohydrates. It should not be like, if I have to lose weight, then I have to stop eating chapatis or rice and then I'm losing weight. It should not be like that. It should be with good complex carbs, because 60% of the energy we are getting from the complex carb. So if you really want to lose weight in a healthy and sustainable manner, it should be always balanced.
Sure. I think that's a very, very good point, because a lot of people come in with the expectation that if they just cut their food in half, if they just make their plate size smaller, that things will automatically get better, right? But it's not necessarily the case. In India, we see the biggest problem which we are currently facing is the protein deficiency. A lot of companies and a lot of startups and a lot of different brands have started to create this push in the mindset towards more protein dense foods, towards more complex carbohydrates also, as Shivani mentioned, because when we're talking about simple carbohydrates like white breads and just very processed kind of wheat flours, they have a lot of inflammatory effects on the body and they don't actually give you the energy you need. They are very quick in kind of spiking your glucose levels and then you crash. And that's why people kind of reach for their second or third cup of tea, or they're reaching for their third or fourth mug of coffee. So these are problems in habits and lifestyle that become very stubborn. And then to correct them takes a lot of time, but it's the only way to actually make it work, because there's no quick fix ultimately in this other than creating that lifestyle shift for people.
We are living in India, right? So here we get a lot of alternatives to each and every food. So if let's say rice is not suiting you or chapati of whole wheat is not suiting you, which is 100% gluten, so if you're taking a professional help, they can maybe tell you what good alternatives you can go for.
So I had another question for Shivani, that of course, in the US and in a lot of Western countries, currently we're seeing a rise in the use of GLP-1 weight loss medications, Ozempic or Mounjaro, or some of these kind of very popular brand name prescription medications. How do you see these kind of, playing a role currently in people's kind of, weight loss journeys or health journeys? And how would you kind of, determine if it's something which could be recommended for a certain person?
So these kind of drugs are actually designed to treat a medical condition like diabetes, right? But weight loss is the outcome that comes along with managing diabetes, managing insulin resistance.
Important parameters to keep in mind is to ensure that they're having enough proteins and they're working out enough so that while they're losing the weight, they're not losing the muscle mass.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think some of the people that I've had conversations with who have taken these medications, they have had very up and down journeys. In some cases it's worked out really well for these people, and in some cases it's not. And I think it's important to remember, as Shivani mentioned, that these medications were designed for people who either have type 2 diabetes or were diagnosed with high chance of developing type 2 diabetes, or are pre-diabetic, for example, themselves, right? Or are suffering from, let's say, chronic obesity. So there are differences in the levels of which these kind of drugs and these medications are prescribed. There is a lot of variation in the kind of information that's out there, as Shivani again rightly pointed out, that they are very new and the studies are still very much conducted on controlled populations.
That's true.
We won't see the true effect of the kind of general populace having access to these medications for another few years still. And that's why it's very important to have a detailed conversation with your medical practitioner, with your doctor, with an expert, to actually understand whether you are the right candidate for this, or whether there are other medications or other strategies or other plans out there which could be more beneficial for you before you take such a drastic decision.
Perfect. I think you've gained a lot of new insights into healthy nutrition, and the key remains in sustainable nutrition practices, consistency with exercise, and constant tracking with diagnostics to ensure that we are on the right track. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.